It's pretty wild when you think about it. A government shutdown in Washington, D.C., a big peace plan for the Middle East, and sudden economic shifts. They might seem like totally separate stories, but they're not. Today, we're going to connect the dots and show you how what's happening in U.S. politics is creating waves that are being felt thousands of miles away.
So let's start with this headline, which sounds like something out of a movie, but I promise you it's real. For the last 24 hours, the U.S. government has effectively been, well, closed. We're talking national parks, museums, a lot of public services, just shut. So how on earth does this even happen?
All right, let's get into the first big piece of this puzzle, the shutdown itself. It really all boils down to three things: money, politics, and a surprisingly old law. So the main reason this can happen is a law that's been on the books since the 1800s called the Anti-Deficiency Act. Think of it like this. Congress holds the nation's wallet, and if they can't agree on a budget, on how to spend the money, this law says, well, then you just can't spend it. The tap gets turned completely off. No wiggle room.
And here's exactly why they can't agree. We're looking at two completely different visions for the country. On one side, you have Republicans who are really pushing to cut government spending, especially on things like welfare and funding for immigrants. And on the other side, you've got the Democrats who want to do the exact opposite, protect those programs and even extend tax credits for workers. With neither side willing to budge an inch, you get, well, a total deadlock.
And believe me, this isn't just some political game. It has very real consequences. All those non-essential services, and that includes things like national parks, research labs, even getting your visa approved, they all just grind to a halt. Hundreds of thousands of federal workers, they don't get paid. And yeah, essential services like airport security are still running, but those workers aren't getting paid on time either, which means a lot of them might just decide to quit.
But here's where it gets really interesting. It's kind of this huge paradox, right? While there's all this chaos and gridlock at home, the U.S. is still trying to project this image of power on the world stage. In fact, right in the middle of this shutdown, former President Trump has come out with a massive peace plan for the Middle East. The plan itself is laid out in 3 steps. Okay, so first, Hamas would release an initial group of hostages, and in return, Israeli forces would pull back a little bit. Then that process repeats, with more hostages and a bigger pullback. And finally, in the last step, all the remaining hostages are freed, Israeli forces withdraw completely, and a neutral buffer zone is set up.
But, and this is a huge but, here's the catch. This quote from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who said this standing right next to Trump, tells you everything you need to know about how fragile this deal is. He's making it crystal clear. If Hamas says no, or if they agree and then go back on their word, Israel will go right back to their military operations. No questions asked.
Now, this plan has gotten a nod from some pretty interesting places. Leaders from India, France, and Pakistan have all said they're on board. But the one voice that matters most here is still completely silent. Without Hamas, the group actually holding the hostages, agreeing to this, the whole thing is just an idea on paper.
So, you've got this political mess at home, and this super delicate peace plan happening abroad. Now let's talk about how these political moves are creating very real economic ripples that are hitting people far, far away from the U.S.
And it all starts with this number, 100%. That's the brand new tariff that's being slapped on all films made outside of the United States.
So what does that actually mean if you want to go see a movie? Well, a ticket to see an international film, which might already be kind of pricey at $30 or $40, could suddenly skyrocket to $60, $70, or even $80. That could absolutely crush the box office for amazing films coming from places like India, Japan, and all over the world. But here's the thing. These economic ripples don't just flow in one direction. While one policy is hurting a foreign industry, another one is actually creating this unexpected boom. See, a policy that made it way more expensive for companies to bring H-1B visa workers to the U.S. is having a fascinating side effect. Instead of paying all these fees to bring engineers to America, big tech companies are now just opening up global capability centers in India, basically taking those high-paying jobs directly to where the talent is. And all this brings up a really interesting question. If one political squabble can bring the entire U.S. government to its knees, why don't we see the same thing happening in other big democracies, like India? Well, the answer is in something called a vote on account. You can think of it as a built-in safety valve. If the political parties are stuck and can't pass a full budget, the Indian parliament can approve what's basically pocket money to cover all the essential bills for a few months. This gives them time to negotiate without shutting the whole country down. When you put them side by side, the difference is just stark. In the U.S., that Anti-Deficiency Act is like a giant red stop button.
No deal, no money, end of story. But in India, the vote on account is this flexible tool that just keeps the lights on and ensures stability, even when the politics get messy. It's a completely fundamental difference in how the systems are designed.
So from a shutdown that could delay your visa, to a tariff that doubles the price of a movie ticket, to a visa policy that could actually create a job for you halfway around the world, it all comes back to this one idea. In the world we live in today, the internal politics of just one country can create ripples that you feel in your wallet and in your career, no matter where you call home. How much can one nation's politics really affect your life? It's a pretty big question.